What's up, fight fans? This is your boy Ak.
And I'm Barack the Boxing Bully.
And this is the DAZN Boxing Show. And we have a special guest, friend to the room, Senior Director of Fight Operations for OTX, Mr. Britton, Hardin.
What's up, champ?
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you guys for having me, man. You guys always look out, and we had some dope news drop yesterday. So I'm excited to wrap it up with you guys first.
Before you drop the news, just to give some people context, for those that watch the DAZN and are big boxing fans in Atlanta at OTX, 4 fights in a row late last year, was put together by yourself. And when we first heard about the brand, coming from basketball, I was a little skeptical about the knowledge of the sport. I said, well, who's running this thing, right? Like, do these people know boxing? And we met with your partner, Brandon, and I knew, I was like, okay, the boxing department in this brand is in good hands because you actually know the sport. You even throw hands as well. I seen you in the gym getting it in. So how long have you been a fan of boxing?
I've been a fan of boxing since I can remember. Boxing has always been a part of my life. I remember, like, for me, being 5, 6 years old, boxers were my superheroes. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't X-Men or Power Rangers or Batman and Superman. No, legit, like Sugar Ray Leonard, Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali. My father would always talk to me about these figures, allow me to watch the fights. I was the kid who would wrap toilet paper around his hands and go around punching for it. And my mom was like, what's wrong with this kid?
Damn, you couldn't use socks or something like that, like normal people? You had to use toilet paper? Damn.
Well, why didn't you get into boxing to be a fighter if you was a fan at that age?
I did. Okay. So I'll tell you, a really quick story. My mother never let me box when, I was, coming up. And so, when I went away to college, I went to school in DC, which is a huge fight city. One of the first things I did was walked into a boxing gym. And I boxed all through college. And by the time I graduated, moved to Los Angeles, I knew I was either going to do one or two things. I was either going to be Ari Gold or I was going to be a professional fighter. Right? So, I was working out in, wild card gym and pound for pound boxing and, all these different boxing gyms, just trying to learn the craft in a way that I was not able to really dedicate while I was in school. But then also during the day, I'm spending 10, 12 hours at, William Morris Endeavor trying to develop this business acumen, and so it kind of comes full circle that I'm doing what I'm doing now on the promotional side of the business.
That's a nice little backstory. Have you ever sparred any pro boxers we would know?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, tell us who put the beats on you.
All right. This is my brother, so I'm comfortable telling this story. But Brandon the Cannon Adams, who was a friend of the show.
Yes,
he was one of my clients when I managed fighters, and still a really good brother and a friend of me. And he was one of the guys that I wanted to mix it up with because I always admired his skill set. We're both have a similar stature, and I'm like, I got 3 or 4 rounds. I could probably get the better of him. And I was completely wrong.
Did it give you, look, you obviously, if you trained through college, you sparred with other guys, but was it just because it's a different level of professional fighter that hit you wait a minute, I can't compete at this level? Did that give you a little bit more respect for fighters, even though obviously you had to have respect, but did that bring it to another level?
100%, because, to your point, I've always had a healthy respect for fighters. Like I said, I've admired fighters my entire life. So the respect issue was never there. It was just, I understood that it was levels to the game. You know what I mean? And for somebody like Brandon, who, whether he has a fight or not, trains twice a day, stays in dog shape, strong as a bull, I work out pretty frequently for, a professional, executive, right? I work out every day. I wake up, I get my miles in, I'll, maybe do a 2 a day if I got enough energy. But when you are in fight mode and that you're fighting in those 8-ounce gloves or those 10-ounce gloves, and what's at stake, and this is how you make a living, it's a completely different mentality. And it just helped me to understand that, there are just levels to the game.
That puts you on a whole different, kind of makes you somewhat of a unicorn, right, in the executive world. To be a fan of the sport for that long and to actually experience what it is to be in the ring, fighters that fight on OTX, they have to feel a little more comfortable. Right? This exec right here knows what it is to some degree to be inside this ring. So maybe your decisions, will cater more to a fighter.
No, that's a fantastic point. And that's one of the things that I think, kind of sets myself and my business partner, Brandon, apart from, the status quo, right? Is we'll pop up to a gym in any city just because we're fans of the sport. We would do this in New York, right? Like we work out, we go to work in Dumbo, and then we walk across the street to Gleason's, right? Like this is what we do. So if we're on the road, we're going to find a boxing gym and we're going to pull up. And there's pros in there like, wait a second, like y'all are promoters? And we like, yeah. And they like, I can't tell you the last time my promoter came and hit the bag alongside me or told me to get some rounds in with him. So I think just understanding that we're myopically focused on the sport, advancing the sport, elevating those fighters, and we really, really, truly understand what they're going through, because in some instances we go through it with them. I think that gives the fighters that we've aligned with a lot of confidence in us.
Yeah. Well said. Okay, so you explain the differences as a promoter that you guys, set you guys apart from other promoters, but explain your brand. What separates your brand from every other promoters? Your brand and the things that you've accomplished already in the city of Atlanta.
Yeah, so I think what we recognized, Brandon and I, and then the broader Overtime team, like I don't want to make it seem like it's just a two-man operation. Like obviously we're 100% solely dedicated to it, but the Overtime team, the whole squad is amazing. And it galvanized around this concept of what is our perspective on boxing and how can we empower you guys to be the best at that? But, to answer your question, I think that identifying that Atlanta was a market that really had a desire for live sporting events outside of the norm. And boxing was one of those sports. It's a lot of great coaches there. It's a lot of great gyms, and it's some phenomenal talent. We knew that Atlanta, just being a cultural hub that it is, that if we could bring our vibe of, okay, you guys, there's a healthy club atmosphere. There's a healthy hookah spot atmosphere there. You guys love bottle service. If we could bring that and sit at the intersection of that and this sport that we love, we knew that we could create something that would just be a vibe all around.
Yeah. Right, so you got wait. So how you doing hookah with the fighters fighting? Is that possible? No,
we don't do hookah in the boxing venue. I'm saying. Okay. In Atlanta, there's respect for like the hookah culture, the club culture, the dance culture, all of those things. And we knew that if we could, kind of meet at that intersection, at that point, that the audience would kind of gravitate towards what we were doing.
Right. So that's what your shows look like. Your shows look like a club atmosphere.
Yeah, we really tried to create a club vibe. We want you to feel like if our shows are on a Friday and you come to an OTX show, that's the appetizer for what you're going to do for the rest of the evening. Wow. Right. So we want you to come enjoy yourself. It's a club-like vibe. There's a boxing ring with premium top tier talent fighting in the center of this club. And then you can go and do whatever it is you want to afterwards because you're already buzzing from the action that you do.
So it's going to be an expensive night. We go into the fights, then we go into the club after, we go spend some cash. So then I'll tell you what, I don't know what it looks like in the fight atmosphere. I know you guys set it up a little differently, but I recently spent some time in the arena watching a game and they gave me a little tour. Phenomenal facility. The vibe was great. The lights, I can see the vision why that's a great space for boxing. So just to tap into Atlanta, right? Barack and I were there for Tank some years back when he fought Gamboa. It was an amazing experience. I've never seen so many people that come from my culture in one building at the same time outside of basketball and other sports, right? So that was Tank Davis, right? Gervonta Tank Davis, who's a household name pretty much in our culture. So how do we tap into those same fans that go to the fight, at least some of them, if we're presenting a young fighter that isn't that popular, right? That isn't millions of followers on social media?
Yeah, I love that question. And I think that what Gervonta was able to do was he was able to connect with an audience that identified with him culturally. Whether you're white, black, Hispanic, Asian, culturally, how he presents himself, how he dresses, how he talks, the events that he would show up to. right? And that's all through storytelling. I think that the thing that over time, as a company overall, the thing that we've mastered and the thing that we do better than just about any media company in the world is we storytell and we introduce our fan base to platforms, athletes, sports, brands, and we say, you should trust us because you've trusted us with the Thompson twins, or you trusted us with Jelly Fam, or you trusted us in football with our OT7 product. We've built so much social capital with our audience that when we say, this is the guy, or this is the sport, or this is the venue, or this is the place, they trust us. And so I think that we're going to have tremendous success with being able to identify athletes that we're really excited about because we've done our diligence. Can they fight? Do they have an interesting story? Do they lean into social? You know, what are they going to say when they get on the mic? Do we see this person projected as a world champion? Like, we've done the diligence and the hard work. So when we point our audience in that direction and say, trust us, this is the guy or this is the girl, they're going to tap in.
You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of a record label of old, the ones that used to like look for their talent and like not just discover them, but build them up.
Yeah.
You know, care about them, you know, care about them outside of what their genre is. And I think that's what you're portraying. Is that a good comparison?
100%. I think, you know, like first and foremost, the boxing industry and the music industry are very akin to one another, right? There's a lot of similarities. And that's why you get so many players who were formerly in the music industry who come over to the boxing industry, right? I think that, you know, much like what an A&R would do when they would really like hit the pavement and try and find the beat for that artist and part of their story, that's what we're doing with our fighters now. Like, we're so passionate about it. We really lean into their upbringing, the things that they overcame, and that translates to their fighting style. And we, like myself and Brandon, we identify that, right, from a boxing fan perspective and just being obsessed with the sport. And it's like, how are you not obsessed with these stories if you know what somebody went through to get here? So we're like, all we have to do is shine a light on these athletes and their story and help the translation into what they're doing in the ring. And we think that we're going to have a lot of success with that.
You know, when you have a passionate idea, or you're passionate about an idea, you have a vision, right? And you try to execute it. The first time out, there might be some hiccups or things that you learn from the experience. You guys did 4 fights on DAZN, right? Talk a little bit about what, if anything, what would you change about the first run and what you're going to do with this second run?
Man, y'all are coming with the questions today. That's a good question. Thanks. I mean, well, first and foremost, 4 sold out events at the OTE Arena, 4 consecutive Fridays in August. I think our capacity is 1,200, but every week the capacity was, you know, we were over capacity, right? To the point where the last fight weekend, we were told—
The fire marshal came out.
The fire marshal was like, if y'all let another soul in this building, we need to shut you down. So a lot of success there, a lot of in-arena success. I think that, you know, what we want to ramp up this time around is we want to tell more stories. We want to go linear with more fighters. Actually, a part of our strategy is we're signing fighters.
Okay.
As opposed to last year, we didn't do that. So we're going to sign a select, bunch of fighters that fought for us last year and some didn't, that we think we can elevate and really turn into household names. So tremendous question. And I think like the straightforward answer is, I think by signing them, we're going to have more real estate over the course of, you know, a year or so to be able to tell their story and elevate them. So that's one thing that I really am excited about this year.
So more shoulder programming, like around the fighters' stories. And now what platform are those stories going to live on? What's the plan for that?
They're going to live and reside on our Overtime social platforms. And I'm sure you guys are well read. We have at this point over 100 million fans, followers, and subscribers across all of our social platforms. We do nearly 2 billion streams on social alone. And that's minus our network provider, who's awesome, by the way. But we think that by really harnessing all the tools that we have and the levers that we pull naturally as a media company, we're really going to be able to put a dent in the boxing industry.
Well, I heard you had to spar the fighters before you signed them. Is that true? I think I saw that on TMZ. No, but you know, I want to talk about. Have you sparred any of them at all, though? That was a joke, but.
No, I haven't sparred any of the fighters that we signed, but I'm looking forward to it. I still mix it up. Okay. I was just on the road in Atlanta, myself and Brandon, like, you know, knocking out some business. And we pulled up to Mustafa, so I'm sure you know. And Mustafa was like, "We got some work for you if we got him." Like, we ain't backing down from no challenge. So.
Nice.
If you had it your way, and there was you can sign any young fighter, right, that's not already signed, or maybe that he is signed, that you would want on your platform that isn't with OTX, who would that be? And you can throw a name out there. It's just a desire. There's no, you know, you're not doing anything illegal, because promoters always scared. Oh, he's under contract, I can't say this.
Yeah, no. I'm not. I'm gonna answer in a very conservative way, in a very simple way, but not for the reasons that you just stated. We're not afraid to say who we want to sign and say who we want to work with. You know, we're an aspirational bunch. But I think that what I've recognized in the short amount of time that we've been in the sport, we have very realistic opportunities to work with some of the fighters that we didn't think that we would have the opportunity to work with this fast. So I'm going to leave it at that. And I'm just
you gotta give me a name. Like, let's have put that out there into the energy. Put that out into the universe. Who do you like? Or you can answer it like this: who do you think is a phenomenal young talent?
Yeah, okay, that's a completely different question.
No, but I'm trying to be subliminal here. So you don't answer it directly.
Don't get caught in that trap. You're about to get caught in the trap.
Oh, man. This guy's my co-host, and he's trying to get you not to answer the question.
No. Listen. I respect the question. Like I said, I'm gonna put it to you like this. Holla at me in a couple of weeks, because if I give you all the goods now, you know, there's gonna be no need for you to bring me back.
All right, well, talk about the new deal. With DAZN.
Yeah, so we're going to be broadcasting on DAZN again. They were our partner last time around. I think there's a lot of continuity and a lot of, again, everything is about storytelling. So this is an extension of the stories that we were able to tell last year. So over time, DAZN, we thought that it was the best opportunity for us now to relaunch our partnership. Our fights will be broadcast on DAZN. You know, per a regular deal, but we also have the opportunity to lean into our social platforms and broadcast our fights as well. It's something that we're really excited about, given the number of, fans and the reach that we have. We really want to enhance the following of boxing. We really want to grow the fandom. I remember growing up and everything stopped when a Mike Tyson fight was popping off. You know what I mean? And I want to bring boxing back to that magnitude, where it's like, we can't continue to paywall the sport. We got to open it up to these younger demographics so that they can get a taste of it and say, wow, I actually enjoy this sport, or identify with that young man or that young woman that's fighting. And then that will increase, the fan base of the sport in totality.
Right. No. Okay. So I understand you don't want to, mention the future potential signings, but who stood out to you in the first 4 installments of Overtime Boxing? Was it Scooby or who?
Yeah. I mean, some fighters that stood out. O'Shea Jones, phenomenal bronze medalist, very aggressive female fighter, explosive. I think female boxing is on the rise, and we actually have we've not coined the term, but we say it's not female boxing, it's boxing, right? So was very impressed with her. Speaking of female boxers, Leanna Cruz, very athletic, very dynamic. David Lopez, Kurt Scobie. We had a lot of fighters that came out and really did their thing in a major way in OTX, because they looked at it as like, can we get signed? Can we do something full time? And we were like, no, we're actually not going to go that path this year. And they looked at that as a challenge. If we can impress these guys, if we can come out and do our thing, maybe if they, they'll bring us back in a long form way.
So in the 8 fights this year on DAZN, do you think it'll be all prospects, or do you think you'll be able to sign and work with guys who maybe past that prospect stage, like contender or maybe even former champion?
Yeah, so there's going to be a very, what I call internally, a very cosmopolitan view of the sport. And what I mean by that is, like, we're going to sign prospects. We're going to sign contenders. We have fighters on the roster that are knocking at the door of world title opportunities and contention.
Wow.
So, we don't want to be viewed as the prospect league or the little brother to any promoter or anything like that. We want to specialize in what we do really, really well, and we want to make a healthy contribution to the sport. We love when people are DMing us or in the comments saying you guys are saving boxing, right? Because we really want to contribute to the sport. We're real fans in a major way. And in addition to the fighters that we're going to go linear with, we're also rolling out an 8-man single elimination tournament at 154 pounds.
Wow.
Because, just like every other sport, tournaments define the best person, the best available fighter at that weight class. And we want to be able to say, look, you come fight at OTX and you might have a murderer's row of 3 or 4 fights that you got to get through. But once you get through those guys, there's no way people don't identify you as the baddest man in that weight class or the baddest woman in that weight class.
You see, I'm sorry, I just want to follow up. This is why I'm glad that we're having this conversation, because I was under the impression when you guys first came out that this was going to be a brand that was highlighting prospects. And obviously, you guys are just promoters across the board.
Yes, 100%. I think that that's a common misconception. I have my ideas why it might be, but we're not the little brother league. We're playing.
You just do, but you want to play with the big players.
Listen.
This ain't junior varsity.
This ain't the JV team. And we're new in terms of time, but myself and Brandon, when we first met, we met almost 2 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
Like, really studied the game. We really dissected it. I was a manager for 5 years prior to coming to Overtime. And I think that there's a benefit to having, I know somebody would say, oh, he's 5 years and they dissected it for 2. I've been in the industry because people have tried to little bro us in that way as well. There's a benefit to coming with outside eyes, right? Like, we can see you guys have been doing this, participating in this century-long sport for this way because it's a benefit to you. But the real benefit to the fan might be doing it an alternative way, which is why we chose to innovate and introduce different rules that are still, in alignment with every sanctioning body and still in alignment with every state that we fight in. But, maybe it is time to try something different.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up because, and by the way, ain't nothing wrong with junior varsity. Barack, my son plays junior varsity basketball, right? But check this out. One of the unique rules,
nice plug right there,
in OTX was the overtime round, right? That was something that was brilliant in my opinion. If a fight goes to a distance and it's a draw, they go an extra round, an overtime round. Is this something that you're going to implement on the next 8 fights? Is this a rule that's going to always stay with OTX?
Absolutely. I mean, it fits brand wise. Again, storytelling and continuity is there, and the fighters love it. At the end of the day, we want to uplift the fighters, and we want to give them an opportunity to always be their best. When we were, kind of surveying the landscape, and just talking to people who are maybe casual boxing fans, and we asked them, what are some of the things that you really don't like about the sport? That makes you a detractor, that makes you, always think that boxing is corrupted or this or that. And they're like, oh, it's too many draws, or this or that. How does somebody train for 2 to 3 months, but we don't know who the decisive winner is? Well, we introduce an overtime round. If you are, in a 4 to 4 round or 5 and 5 round fight, and, the judges can't come to a conclusive decision, we give you one last shot or winner take all round.
I love it.
Yeah, that's phenomenal.
I love it.
Before we get out of here, when does this start? When does this new 8 fight deal starts on DAZN?
March 29th, we'll be back at the OTE Arena with our first fight card. The second card is also going to be in Atlanta. That's April 19th. And then I think we're gonna hit the road on some sites.
Oh, wow. So this is not all in the OTX Arena. This time you're expanding outside of it. Wow.
I told you, we're not playing in the baby league. This is not the little brother league. You know, the OTE Arena is amazing. It provides us a lot of opportunity to put these fighters in an arena that just looks and feels like Barclays Center, like MGM Grand. And we want the fighters to have that opportunity.
Yes.
But then we also want to go out on the road because there's talent elsewhere that we want to discover. We want to tap into different markets and do some storytelling there as well.
You know what I'm curious of? You know, we mentioned the Gervonta Davis crowd, you know, when me and Ak went 2019. What does the overtime crowd so far look like? You know, because Gervonta got the ballers, he got the athletes, the entertainers, you know, guys that look like they got money come to his show. What does the audience look like for overtime boxing?
Yeah, well, last time around, we had luminaries, athletes, politicians all pull up to our event.
Wow.
Carmelo Anthony was there in attendance. Steven Jackson, who you know is a big boxing fan, was in attendance. We had former world champion Sean Porter in the building, Andre Berto, Chris Algier. You know when the boxing world supports,
yeah.
You know when the boxing
absolutely
actually support you.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
it's like
I don't know. You ain't have us in the building, so I'm not sure about that. But
yeah,
no,
we're gonna fix that. We're gonna fix that. We're gonna fix that.
Now, listen, from what it looked like, watching it on DAZN looked like a phenomenal event. And for those that were there that I spoke to said they had a phenomenal time. So I'm looking forward to OTX on DAZN. March 29th is the first show. Welcome back to DAZN, and thanks for joining us, man.
We appreciate you. Thank you so much for thinking of us. And we'll be back when we drop those names.
Absolutely. Thank you, Champ.
All right.
All right, you guys.